Well, welcome to Valley Hoops Insider Podcast. Harry Schroeder, host of the site, editor of this site, and glad to be joined today by the head basketball coach of the UIC Flames, Luke Yaklich. And the Flames and the whole UIC program on the way to the Missouri Valley Conference. We're excited about that. And I know it's a busy mid-season, Luke. Appreciate your time today. How far along in this process were you kind of brought into, hey, we might be going to the Valley?
Well, naturally, Harry, it just looking at the timeline, it went fast to begin with. And, I think it was something that was brought up like in passing in one of those water cooler conversations, so to speak, like, hey, we're going to try to do this and we'll see what happens. And then it was like, it wasn't 10 days later. It was like, you really felt like from, our athletic administration, it was like, this really could happen. And then it just kind of snowballed and gathered momentum from there. And, Michael Lippitz, Chancellor Michael Amaritis, like the whole leadership team there did an unbelievable job of just putting this on the path and then keeping that path clear throughout this whole process. And it was great. I mean, very, very excited, obviously. And there's a buzz around it for sure.
When they started talking about UIC and, digging into your school a little bit, from here in St. Louis, trying to figure out what was great about the University of Illinois Chicago. Brag on the university a little bit. Tell us about the school.
Well, it's an unbelievable academic research institution. I mean, you've got the UIC, the hospital, the medical part of campus alone offers all of the sciences and research part of that. And, you really saw that come to fruition with COVID and stuff. And the things that we were able to do testing wise and stuff was incredible. And then from a campus perspective, this thing's a hidden gem. Harry, like most people think when you get to campus, it's like, well, I'm going to have to go up to the 7th floor of this skyscraper and there I'll be, and that'll be UIC when you walk through the elevator doors. And we have a beautiful campus that is aesthetically appealing in so many different ways, from just the greenery on campus. Then you've got in the backdrop, you've got the city, and then there's 33,000 students, Harry, that come from 64 different countries. So we're one of the top 20 most diverse campuses in the entire country. We have 84 different majors. And then there's an investment into education by our administration and the entire university in hiring teachers and making sure that the best student experience, not even student athlete experience, but the best student experience is there. And you've got, we're surrounded by Little Italy, Chinatown, and Greektown. So you get the flavor of Chicago, and then you're walking around campus and it's a snapshot of what Chicago is all about, just from the 18 to 24-year-old college student scene. So in addition to that, it's, from a worldwide perspective and international perspective, it has credibility. Our business schools in the top 15% nationwide, and a lot of students come here. The second largest financial district is right outside of our campus in the West and the South Loop. And then you add in the athletics. I mean, the things that we're doing athletically right now, we've got our own arena on campus, Credit Union 1, it seats 6,000 to 8,000. We've got our own practice facility, remodeled our locker room. We're redoing our entire weight room. We've upgraded our entire basketball practice facility. And then the stuff that we're doing with mental health on campus and that initiative, it's easy to talk about UIC. I think you probably got that from me.
I was gonna say you're like the Chamber of Commerce here. You're giving it all to me. I appreciate that.
I love this place.
Yeah, you're a Chicago guy, social studies teacher, girls high school basketball coach.
Yes.
Talk about that journey. How did you end up coaching high school girls and now at a Division I university?
Yeah, I'll try to I'll make this as succinct as possible. I think I have to give credit to Mr. Beal, who was my 7th grade history teacher. At 7th grade, I knew I wanted to go into history teaching, Harry. That was a done deal. My sophomore year, I had Paul Kramarczyk was my sophomore coach, who eventually became my varsity coach, and Gary Sonnenberg was his assistant. And at that point, when I had that experience as a sophomore, and then combine that with the history experience as a seventh grader, at the end of my sophomore year, I knew I was going to go to the best teaching school I could, and I knew I was going into going to coach. So then as soon as high school ended, I started helped out start a AAU program in LaSalle, Peru. I coached probably 200 to 250 games of AAU by the time I was 20, and then I helped the LP LaSalle Peru varsity team in the summer. Then I went to manage at Illinois State when Kevin Stallings was there. That's where I met Dan. So it was kind of, I graduated, I went into student teaching. I got my first varsity job 1 year out of college as a varsity girls coach. And then I had the opportunity to go to Sterling High School, Harry, and worked for an unbelievable athletic director named John Van Vliet, who was tremendous. And I kept kind of just, for me, it was like, always be where your feet are. And I thought we were going to live in Sterling. I love that town. It was an unbelievable place for me. But then my high school coach, Paul Kramarczyk, he resigned, and I went back to LaSalle, Peru. And at that point I was like, this is it. I told my wife, like, I want him to name the court after me here. I'm going to stay for 30 years here and do this. And it was about 5 or 6 years after that, Harry, or 2 to 3 years into that, it was like, you know what? I love this place, but sometimes you got to leave home. And I felt that for my career and our family, I just left. I went to Joliet, and it was like a basketball town. You get 80 kids at open gym every night, and we really had it going. I love teaching and coaching there. That was an incredible place for me. And then Dan came to me 4 years after 7 years at Joliet. He got the job there. He had an opening his second year, brought me down, and here we are. So that whole journey started, and obviously Dan just allowed me to learn. He gave me so much responsibility. My head was spinning the first year. I had no clue what the hell I was doing at all, in any facet of anything. I was just hanging by a thread and hoping to hold on, and I didn't screw up anything or committed some violation. But it was awesome. And 4 years later, again, had the opportunity to go to Michigan, and then to Texas, and then here. And blessed and fortunate. I love what I do, and haven't worked a day in my life. There's some days that are better than others, especially after the losses like we had last night, but we get better anyway.
You worked for Dan Muller there at Illinois State, John Beeline at Michigan, and Shaka there at Texas. You've had some guys that have really, you've had a great master's degree education in coaching.
Harry, if you'd have told me as a high school coach at the age of 25 or 26 that, at the age of 40, 41, that you'll be sitting next to John Beeline, and you'll have coached with Dan Muller at your alma mater and won a Valley championship, and then you go to Tech, like, there's no way you can. And that's why I always tell young people, Harry, it's like, everybody's got their own path. And if somebody would have, I always had that day, I want to win a state championship by the time I'm 25. Well, it doesn't happen that way. But nobody ever told me, Harry, hey, you'll coach in the national championship game. If somebody would have told me that, I would have said, you are nuts. Absolutely nuts. I'll coach in the state title before I'll ever coach in that game. And you just keep doing work, keep doing things the right way where you're at, and just things fall into place. And sometimes you have to be very lucky. And I've been very fortunate, lucky, and things have kind of fell into place for me. And it's ironic, Harry, you talk about like this business. It's so funny because, if when Chris Holtman left Butler, that's the reason why I'm here. So he leaves Butler, goes to Ohio State. All right. Then Val leaves Milwaukee to take the Butler job. Pat Baldwin is on staff at Northwestern. He gets the Milwaukee job. Billy Donlin is best friends with Chris Collins. Billy Donlin takes the Northwestern job. John Beeline has an opening and he needs a defensive guy. You understand how many, like literally if one of those things does not happen, if Milwaukee doesn't hire Pat Baldwin, I'm not here. It's like, so it's fragile in that sense of like, just like how just happenstance some things are, but it's a little, just the 6 degrees of separation on stuff. It's wild.
You talked about John Beeline needing a defensive guy, and we read headlines. I'm a Valley guy through and through, right? And so you left Illinois State, so you're one of our guys, right? Like we care about the Valley guys, and you go there, and we're proud. I read our national articles. Luke Yaklich is helping Michigan's defense get better. How did you become a defensive guy? I mean, everybody thinks defense is important, but how did that become something that's something of a specialty for you?
It's another one of those things, Harry, that you look back very similar to that situation I just described. Like my high school coach was Chips Giovanni, who has passed away, but was a legend. He's in the Hall of Fame in Illinois basketball. He was all man to man. Like if he'd have taught 2-3 zone, I might never have been ready for the Michigan job. So I just always taught man to man. I fell in love with man to man, and just kept doing that whole track. And then I always had the desire, I always wanted to be the best at what I was doing and offer something that was unique and special. And Dan kind of gave me more of a voice the last 2 years at Illinois State, and I had to earn that voice. I had no clue what I was doing. But then after that happened, Harry, it's just slowly, our defense improved, and it was because we have really good players and a great staff. But I had that background, and when Dan called Coach Beeline for me, he originally said, I'm not going to hire anybody I don't know. So I said, okay, well, that one's out the door. Good try, Luke. A week later, he calls me back and said, I want to talk to your assistant. Coach B and I hit it off on the phone. I was talking to him when I was bass fishing in the middle of a farm pond in Illinois with my son on speakerphone. It was wild. I'll never forget it. And so ultimately, like that, I just kept, I fell in love with that part of it. I felt I could make an impact on a staff at Illinois State. And then to Coach B's credit, like he's such a learner and a great leader that, after 40 years, when I walked in, he was 40 years into his profession, and he was there. Okay, teach me something. So I'm sitting there the first day, and Coach Beeline's coming, sitting down in my office, saying, all right, well, how do you want to do this? And I'm like, okay, here we go. You can't stop now. And Coach B and I we just kept going, and it just kind of like our whole staff, Sadie Washington, Dre Haynes, Coach B, and myself, it was like this perfect puzzle that was just like, boom. All of a sudden, it just fell into place and we just had a great synergy about us, and Coach B and I just fed off each other and tried to take things off of his plate and kind of help him from the defensive side, because he spent so much time on offense, a genius. And that's where his mind went. And he was like humble enough and smart enough to understand that, to just say, okay, let somebody else do it. And I'm going to listen, and I'll give feedback. And it just was an awesome experience for me. It helped pave me, helped me to be in position to be a head coach.
We've mentioned Dan Muller a couple of times. Dana Ford was on his staff and head coaching at Missouri State, and Penny Collins was on his staff and head coaching at Tennessee State, and you were on his staff and you're there. What is it about Dan Muller that guys grow, flourish, learn, and can move on to that next level, that next spot?
Well, it's just he puts a lot of expectations on you. I mean, and he gives you a lot of expectations and a lot of job responsibilities. I mean, my first year, I was in charge of all academics. I did scheduling. I did community service with the guys, did my scouts, did my recruiting, and he would just constantly give me more. So I put so much on my plate, and I'm very organized, so I could handle those things. And I came up with a routine. And then on the court, he was going to give you feedback, and if it was direct, it was good, it was bad. And I kept growing. And that was the key thing. And he's a really good coach, unbelievable offensive mind, and great with just understanding his team and always thinking about the team in different ways that you could operate offensively and defensively. And he learned a lot of that from Coach Stallings, obviously, but a lot of that was just who he is and his ability to think and coach the game. And then his recruiting, it was great. I mean, there's so many different aspects of that job, Harry, that were that absolutely like forced me out of my comfort zone right away. And it helped me to grow as an assistant coach and then eventually start thinking that I could be a head coach.
I remember talking to Dana one time and saying, what, because he worked at Wichita State with Greg Marshall. I said, what did you get from those two guys? And he talked about some of the X's and O's from Marshall, but the relationship and the teamwork that he got from Dan. So your different spots, are there certain pieces of you that are Dan Muller, certain pieces of you are John Beeline, et cetera?
Yeah, you know what? In that regard, Harry, like it's part of it. Like trying to there's things of Coach Smart that was awesome with relationships, a lot like Dan and culture, and Coach B was big into culture. And then, you know, he had his offensive system, and there's all of these things. And really as a head coach first year, and even going through COVID was different because you couldn't build it like together the way you wanted to. So you're learning as a coach who you are and how things are going to play out and how you want to do things on a day-to-day basis. So that part for me is really, I'm trying to balance, like, I like everything and then trying to meld that all together. Quite honestly, those are some things last year that I like, okay, that worked with him, but I don't think it works here. I really like that there, and I think it'll work here. So there's this balancing act all the time with that. And all I could say is there's so many great things about each one of them, but the best thing I could say about each one of them is they were themselves. You have to be yourself, and learning how to be yourself as a head coach is really important. And that's what went through a graduate school in me last year, which is it's interesting because this job, it cuts you open.
I think it's interesting because, like, I was a high school basketball player. I watch basketball games kind of through the eyes of my high school coach, right? Like all those things that were ingrained in me in 9th grade and 10th grade. And I think, well, why are they doing that? They shouldn't do it that way because of the way I learned it. And so I can see how those things just kind of get ingrained. You were at Illinois State for a number of years, and now your program joining the Missouri Valley Conference. Talk about that a little bit. What's it going to look like for you guys to be in the Missouri Valley? What excites you about that?
Well, it's, you know, from my background, just as I said, as a manager, as a high school coach, then as an assistant there, it's Midwest basketball. And I'm so fortunate that having 2 years in the Big Ten and now 2 years in the Horizon League and the experience of 4 years as assistant in Missouri Valley, like that's Midwest basketball at its core and everything. So as a basketball, you know, aficionado, a purist, just a junkie, like Illinois high school basketball is everything. And all of the Illinois high school basketballs, they center around the Horizon League, center around the Big Ten. And then now the Missouri Valley, the second oldest conference in the country, and all of the history behind that. And then my personal history of like 2 years as a manager, didn't know how lucky I was. Went to the NCAA tournament twice, beat Northern Iowa with Jason, I think it was Jason Daisy. Then the next year we beat Steve Alford with his team. It was like, I didn't understand what I was going through. And how hard it is to get to that point and how you have to build a program there. So all of those coaches and programs and the talent, they're all working really hard. And it's like any league, the margin for error is that thin. You know, it's a bounce here or there, but it's all the hard work that leads you to get to that point. And the coaches in that league, like many other leagues, the league I'm in now in the Horizon, they're really good coaches that have really good talent that know what the heck they're doing and how to win basketball games.
When people watch your Flames team, what do they see? I mean, I know you're just, like you said, 1 year in COVID, 1 year now quasi-COVID, you know, I mean, we're not all done with it. What kind of style? What are they seeing of UIC Flames basketball?
Oh, right now here at Bass, we're not playing defense the way I even remotely want to play defense. I'm really disappointed right now in our defense. That's got to get better. So with that said, the ultimate goals, we want to be a tough-minded defensive program that has competitive dudes that you're going to have to outfight to win. Offensively, want to play 4 out and 1 in and have a bunch of skilled guys on the floor that would very similar or something close to what we had and how Coach Beeline coached at Michigan with a skilled 5 and 3 or 4 guys on the floor that can all dribble, pass, and shoot. So
and just easy to get all those guys, right?
oh yeah, really easy. You got to work your butt off every day, developing your guys and making sure you got the right fit with the guys that you have coming in. But the Valley is awesome. Horizon League is awesome. We're concentrating right now and just finishing the season out and winning a championship in March. And then the big picture, obviously next year we move into that. You're moving into a league that is incredible, and the feeling that you get at Arch Madness in St. Louis is incredible.
Credit Union One Arena. I've just looked at some pictures, and the baseball stadium, spectacular. There's great facilities at UIC.
Unbelievable. From our Curtis Granderson, our graduate who went here, has donated money back. He is an unbelievable philanthropist and a supporter of UIC. And then the support from our administration, like the renovations we've made in our practice facility and our locker room, and then what's going on at Credit Union One Arena, all on campus, top-notch stuff. I love this place, and it's going to be special, and it's a hidden gem and a sleeping giant.
So you're a Chicago guy, but you're a lot younger than me. A Jordan guy. You have got to be a Jordan guy from being from Chicago.
I am pseudo because I grew up a Celtic fan. So my wife
really
loves it. I'm a Celtic guy though.
So you were a Larry Bird guy?
Larry Bird, McHale, Parrish, that whole
team. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm always asking guys, okay, who do they like? Who did they really appreciate? I'm here in St. Louis. Watched this guy play in high school. Tell me about Courtney Ramey.
Wow, what a competitor. Courtney and I, we butted heads right away, Harry. I was all defense and I was getting on Courtney. And so with the first couple of weeks, we had some heart-to-hearts, some head-to-heads. It was awesome. Though Courtney, I love that kid. He is a competitor, loves basketball, and has a big heart and is really like a good teammate that it really cares about what he's doing, has a ton of pride in his own performance and what he's a part of. So I take a Courtney Ramey on my team every single year I ever coach.
Tell me about, clearly you guys are going to be recruiting the Chicago area in Illinois. Are there other spots that are maybe the likely places you would be recruiting?
We'd say like the Midwest. Yes, we're going to recruit the Midwest in our recruit our backyard. Chicago's an international city, so we've got international players on our team, and you have the access to junior college. So it's a pretty wide swath that we can cut recruiting wise. You can't get it too wide. You go a mile wide and an inch deep, it ends up not working out well. So we have some areas that we focus in on. Obviously, Illinois and Indiana. There's enough basketball and good basketball players here to field a roster. And
you guys have quite a few transfers this year. And I know anytime a coach takes over a new program, there's, man, what do we have? What do we need to plug in place? Those kinds of things. With the advent of this wide open transfer portal, there's a lot of that going on. It has changed the way people recruit, hasn't it?
It has. Roster management is key. It's everything. You have to be really, really aware, cognizant of everything going on in your program, what everybody's thinking and what you really need and what that looks like down the road. And it's a part of the college profession that I think is, as a head coach, and then the portal hits, and then you got COVID recruiting where you couldn't get out. It was not the most ideal start, for me, but as a leader, you adapt and adjust and you make the most of it. So we've learned a lot over those 2 years, and obviously being out and getting out, basically on our way to a high school game tonight here. to see one of the kids that has committed to us now. So it's all over, and you really have to be you just have to be really dialed into what's going on.
Before I let you go, coaches in the Valley that you know well, are there a couple of those guys you know better than others?
Yeah, I mean, we've played Valparaiso the last 2 years here. Obviously, Dan, obviously Dana. Not familiar with the assistant at Indiana State, Zach Boisvert, and I have been good friends. And Kyle Green and I were good friends before he left to go to Iowa State. And then Darren at Drake has done an unbelievable job there. Obviously Porter, and then Coach Mullins and I have been friends. So yes,
everybody,
the tentacle spread, So it's been great. I'm excited about it being in that fraternity, but really excited about what we have to finish up this year. I really thankful for this opportunity to meet with you today, Harry. This is great. I really enjoyed this conversation.
So D Brown, how did you end up with D Brown on your staff?
It was interviewed him. We did 3 interviews. It was a no-brainer. Wow. Unbelievable. He's awesome.
Such a great player back in the day, and obviously a name in your area. So it's huge.
He's a great coach, great person, passionate, energetic every single day. Great with the guys on and off the court. And like Coach Veasley and Coach Wyszynski, our other 2 assistants, they're fathers and people that care about kids, teaching, on and off the court, student, athlete, player, and young man. We try to get our guys 1% better every day at all 4 of those categories. So those 3 guys are unbelievable.
Appreciate the time. I wanted the Missouri Valley people to be able to bump into you in a fresh way since we just had the announcement this week. And super excited about UIC joining and you coming back to our league.
Thank you very much, Harry. I really enjoyed it. To all the Valley fans, hello, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the Valley cities and the Valley arenas here in about 12 months.
That's Flames coach Luke Yaklich. I'm Harry Schroeder. You've been watching our podcast, Valley Hoops Insider podcast, part of the Valley Hoops Insider website. Remember, since you've been there, make it a better place. We'll see you again real soon.